Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Cece. Today's video is an Outlander video. I am almost halfway through A Breath of Snow and Ashes. You can see I have the shiny cover one. So I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on the first half of the book. Alright, so welcome back. Today's video is an Outlander video. I'm almost halfway through reading A Breath of Snow and Ashes. I had forgotten how much I loved this book, although parts of it are a tough read. Yeah, so I'm doing well with the read along generally. I am doing very well with the read along. I have caught up. I did fall behind a little bit with the previous book, The Fiery Cross. Just having some trouble finding the time to read and choosing to spend my free time reading instead of doing something else. But I'm back on track now. It is Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend. One of my favorite holidays, actually. Probably my favorite holiday. To me, Thanksgiving is better than Christmas. Just my personal opinion. Anyway, so yeah, we're in Canadian Thanksgiving. It's the second weekend in October. I'm supposed to finish this book by the end of next weekend. Yes, so tomorrow is Sunday, and that's one more week to finish this book. I'm on about page 400, and there are 970 pages in this book. So hopefully I get my butt in gear this weekend and next week, and I just keep reading. I don't think it'll be a problem. I'm excited to read, so hopefully I make the time to do it. I have been doing the audiobook quite a bit. That has been helping. As you know, I often walk to work, although I don't walk every day. I often walk. And so that's a good 15 minutes each way of dedicated Outlander listening time. So between that and then choosing to read when I have free time, it's been good. I'm making good progress. So hopefully I finish in time for the release of Bees. I'm really hoping that I keep it up. Okay, so this book, wow, it is the first half jam-packed with action. It starts completely differently from A Fiery Cross. I don't know if that was Diana's response to maybe some comments that she received in her writing process, because the first half of The Fiery Cross is one single day, basically, one big party, whereas A Breath of Snow and Ashes spans a couple of months. And we move fast. A lot of stuff happens, a lot of important stuff. I'm not going to talk about all of it, of course, I don't have time, but I'm just going to talk about the things that I really noted and that I really enjoyed. First off, I love Ian. He's my absolute favorite. I'm so excited that he's back in the books. That makes it so much more of an enjoyable reading experience for me personally, just because he's one of my absolute favorite characters. And I love that the book opens with a very short chapter, only 2 pages, but his perspective, it really sets the scene for what's kind of going on at the ridge with these violent attacks, because we see it impacting Ian, who, you know, is a single man, very able to take care of himself and keep himself safe. And he is, you know, kind of at risk. So it really sets the stage for the whole book and the whole first half of the book. But I just loved getting inside Ian's head for a little bit. Of course, seeing Roland the dog. And it made me excited to keep reading because I know there's going to be more of him, and he is my favorite. I think that I'm going to break this up into talking about just a couple of key characters. So I talked about Ian. Next, I'm going to tackle Claire. So a little bit of a trigger warning if you didn't know. In the first half of A Breath of Snow and Ashes, Claire is abducted and raped. Obviously, it's horrible. I was surprised when I was reading the book because the event makes such a huge impact on the whole story and so many characters. But when you're reading the physical book, you can see how little space her abduction and attack take up, even though the impact is very widely felt. So I thought that that was interesting. I'm not going to get into it too much. I really appreciated how Dinah Gabaldon tackled this particular attack on Claire. And I really appreciated the time spent after the attack in Claire's head and in Claire's body, and kind of the bizarre, almost surreal experience that Claire's having, as she kind of, in the first days of trying to recover from this attack and take stock of her physical body, her mental state, her marriage, her relationship with her child. All of these things have been impacted by this horrible event, and really seeing Claire's inner pragmatic self kind of come out. I thought that was very cool to see. Obviously, I think this is horrible. I'm not saying, I don't know. I don't want it to sound like it's a good thing that this happened to Claire. It's obviously not at all. But it was very interesting, and I thought respectful the way that Diana Gabaldon chose to tackle this. So I really appreciated that. I thought it was interesting, the dynamic that happens with Claire and Jamie, how this kind of affects their relationship, how they both choose to kind of handle this and recover. They're both very determined to, stay true to each other and take solace and comfort together, not apart. I thought that was really key, because I think this kind of event could really have destroyed their relationship, and they both made a deliberate effort to stick it out together, not separately. So I really enjoyed reading that part. I did not enjoy reading about the attack. I tried to just read it as quickly as I could. I knew it was coming up. I picked a time that I could just sit down and just read through it, and I had lots of time afterward to read, the parts after, so that I didn't just read, the rape scene and then move on with my day. Definitely structured my reading time so that I could read that bit and then, manage my experience. So that happens. The other big piece that's happening with Claire is she's kind of growing her medical practice and her surgery. I really enjoyed seeing this. She is using her microscope. She's developing new treatments for Lizzie, who has malaria. She performs a surgery on Tom Christie that goes really, really well. She's talking about kind of pain management, and she develops ether to kind of, put people under, like an anesthesia. And her experiments with Bobby, Lizzie, and Malva, kind of using this ether to put them to sleep, was very cool. I really liked Claire's perspective on this. Is just, you don't feel pain. Everyone would want that. And then the people from the 18th century are kind of really shocked by this. Like, well, this must be something, unholy or just bizarre. I just thought that was so fun and so cool, and good for Claire. She's really taking the knowledge and lessons learned from the future and applying it as best she can in the time she's living in currently. So I just thought that was so cool, and very interesting for me, someone who has very, almost no medical knowledge, just basic first aid or whatever. I just thought that it was really neat. So I really appreciated that, and how much she's growing as a doctor. I thought that was very cool. The other character that I obviously want to talk about is Jamie. Jamie goes through a lot in this book. He becomes the, I totally forget what it's called. He becomes the guy who, he goes to the First Nations villages, kind of speaking for the king. And he doesn't want to take on this role, but he does, so that his neighbor, the Browns, can't do it, because they already have kind of a chokehold on some power in the area, and Jamie just doesn't feel good about that. So he takes on the role, and it's cool to see, because we end up learning a lot more about young Ian in these scenes. We see Jamie kind of making deals and strategizing, how best to accomplish his own goals, which are really contradictory, because right now in the book, he is acting like a total loyalist, right? Like he's a British subject, he's for the king, all of this stuff. But he knows that he's going to flip sides, and he just has to decide when he's going to do that. And he doesn't want the First Nations people to kind of see him flip and think that he's not trustworthy, or that, you know, he's been lying to them the whole time. So yeah, I think that's all really, really cool. I also liked the little bit of like metaphysicality going on in this book with Jamie. He has this memory of meeting a fortune teller in Paris who tells him he has 9 lives. And then he's kind of checking in with Claire, like, you know, how many times do you think I've almost died? And they work it out, and it's like 5 or 6 or something. So he thinks, he starts to believe that that's true. So yeah, I just really enjoyed all of that. Definitely we're seeing Jamie as he's always been a protector of his family. He's definitely a protector of Claire. You see the real barbarian side of him. You know, he calls himself that. Claire calls him that. You know, definitely a very strong character. How he treats Lionel Brown after he's captured, you know, very interesting. We're seeing, yeah, just some kind of feudalism, some kind of control that Jamie has. And yeah, we're seeing him manage his grandchildren and his extended family with Marsley and Fergus. They're kind of more back in this book. They were absent quite a lot of the last book, but now they're back. So yeah, we're just seeing more of Jamie, how he handles really, really difficult situations, how he prioritizes Claire and his relationship with her, and how he's navigating the political situation and kind of getting advice from Roger, getting advice from Brianna. We're kind of continuing to see that relationship between Jamie and Roger develop, but it's more on the back burner than it was in Fiery Cross. I feel like they've kind of come to terms with each other. We see them work together a few times. They don't totally understand each other all the time, but we do see Jamie place that trust in Roger, asking him to go get the new tenants and sort of take charge of that. So I thought that was very interesting. And we see how more of this religious division between the Protestants and the Catholics. And Claire's Catholic, but she doesn't really take any of it too seriously. She's very busy with her medical practice. Jamie definitely takes it more seriously, as does Roger. They just, I think, have more knowledge about how deep-rooted these prejudices are and how difficult it could be to overcome. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. Seeing Jamie with Tom Christie is also very illuminating. You kind of see him be a bit of a jerk. Like, I don't know. Tom Christie's not a very likable character, but Jamie certainly doesn't do him any favors. I guess he does do him favors because he lets him, you know, move in and whatever. But definitely always taunting him. There's kind of a competition going between the two men, and Jamie's always sure to show that he's the better man. Yeah, I don't know, not the most flattering side. The other not flattering thing we see about Jamie is this letter that Jenny writes him about Leary, his ex-wife, I guess, hooking up with someone new, and how jealous Jamie is of that, and how he even thinks it's bizarre. Like, why should he be jealous? He's not in love with her. He never really was in love with her. But yet he is still jealous, and he really wants to know who it is, and he really wants to, you know, stop it from happening. It's just interesting, not very flattering. But well, I guess no one's perfect, not even Jamie Fraser. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was something that I'm still wrapping my head around, and it's the birth of Marsley and Fergus's second son, Henry Christian, who is born a dwarf, which at the time, I guess, would be considered a sign that his parents had committed some sort of horrible sin, and it's a real embarrassment, I guess. Obviously, being from this time, I don't get that attitude at all. I'm wondering, I'm going to finish this book first. And then I think I'm going to read about this in the Outlandish Companion too. And I think I'm just going to think about it a little bit more as the book continues and see kind of where I come out on it. It definitely shows the division between Fergus and Marcelly. It for sure shows how the Frasers and their extended family, even though that they're the people in charge of Fraser's Ridge and the community there, that they are being more and more isolated and distanced from the rest of the community, and this is a part of that. It shows kind of the cracks in Marcelly and Fergus's marriage, and it gives more background into Fergus's life before he met Claire and Jamie. He was born in a brothel in Paris, and he saw some, truly horrific things that lead to how he acts and behaves now, obviously. I don't know how I feel about all this. We will have to see. Obviously, I've read all the books that have so far been published, so I know what happens. That's fine. I just want to keep reading. I want to see if there's anything that I missed about Henry Christian's arrival on the Ridge and kind of what happens with that, and just think about it a little bit more, because I think my first couple of times reading through these books, I just kind of went like, oh, that's weird, kept reading. So I'm going to think about it a little bit more and see where I come out on it. And that's kind of my plan for tackling that. So that's it. Those are all my thoughts on the first almost half of A Breath of Snow and Ashes. I really do love this book. I don't like reading Claire's Attack. That's okay. I read it. I didn't skip anything. And now we're on the other side of it into kind of the recovery phase. So I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying Brianna and Roger. I'm enjoying them enough. I don't really like Brianna's. She's always, oh, make a kiln, we'll have hot water, like we'll do this, we'll do that. Like, I just don't find it super interesting. I find Claire's medical stuff way more interesting for whatever reason. I like where Roger and Bree's relationship is right now. I think that things are going well. And so I like reading about that. So I'm enjoying this book. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite by far. It's not my least favorite. I'm not done yet. I still have quite a bit more to go, a little bit more than halfway. But I'm pretty confident that I will make it by the deadline. So yeah, I'm going to post this video as kind of a part 1, and then I'm going to make another video as my thoughts on the book as a whole, and those will go up shortly. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments on this book or the other Outlander books, please let me know, and I will catch you in the next one.